Hi guys, this is your girl Shatanya Me, and I am here today on the rest of this journey with you guys for mindfulness and meditation. I am on the phone today with the amazing Rick Scott, who is a vegan hockey player, and Rick is going to tell us a little bit about himself until before we dive in.
Well, thank you for having me today, Shatanya. Yes, I am a vegan hockey player. It's interesting because in so many sports out there today, unfortunately, hockey is lagging behind basketball and football and I'm really not clear on baseball at this point, but of the big four, as far as like how many are adopting veganism. But yes, there are vegan hockey players, and I'm one of them. So yeah, I'm an athlete, and I'm also a PR and marketing professional, and I have a company for almost 30 years now called Great Scott Productions, which is a music, entertainment, sports, and cause-oriented public relations firm. And then about a year and a half ago, a partner and I have launched what's called Vibrant Energy, which is teaching people, it's educating, informing, uplifting, inspiring people to live a more vibrant life through plant-based living.
Okay, I need to get into plant-based living. I've been trying. I tried it years ago. I tried to be vegan years ago, and I lasted 7 days. So it didn't work well for me, but I definitely want to get some tips from you about how to go about that. But before we jump into that, I definitely wanted to speak with you and athletes to get your advice in reference to just being mindful and learn about your mindful journey. And that's what we do here or at a pursuit to happiness is we are on the journey to find better ways to finding our happiness and to strengthen our meditation journey and strengthen our mindfulness journey. So it's so exciting to me when I met you that you are an athlete who incorporated mindfulness into your life and started a spiritual journey. So that was very intriguing to me, and that's why I was like, I need to speak to Rick. So
Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk about that today, Shatanya. My spiritual path, I kind of entered in '94. But as far as like where it helps me as an athlete, they always say that the present moment is perfect, right? That if you're worried or whatever, you're thinking about the future, which you cannot control, and if you're upset or sad about something that happened before, obviously that's living in the past. But the present moment is perfect, and like in life, hockey happens very fast. It is the fastest sport, and I'm not talking about automobile racing, whatever. But and I guess maybe some downhill skiers might argue as well. But things happen so fast in hockey, like in life, and you're making split-second decisions. You almost have to know what you're doing with the puck even before you have the puck. So it's like you're being focused in that present moment. That's all that you can be is focused in that present moment. And so they always say, like, a calm mind makes clear decisions. And so, like, if you meditate and you keep your mind calm, whatever, you usually will see things pretty well in order to make informed decisions. And so that's where I find the benefits of mindfulness and a meditation practice applying to my life on the ice, whatever, is that I can, hopefully stay calm and certainly be focused on the moment and make smart decisions in an instant.
Right. No, because it's definitely when I've never honestly have never watched a full hockey game, but I have seen it, and I do it like you said, it's very fast, and you guys are moving, and it's very rough. So I always see the intensity on the ice, and I'm like, wow, okay, these guys are crazy.
Yeah, well, and I hope, by the way, you have experienced a hockey game in person because it's completely different in person.
Really?
It's one of those sports that is so much more amazing when you see it in person versus on television. Just to really get an idea and a feel for how fast the game is, and the size of these players and everything. Not including myself at 5'5", 130 pounds, but as far as size goes. But yeah, it's fast. And so yeah, in person, and so yeah, it's you mentioned brutality and things like that or whatever. It's physical. The game has changed though. I mean, I played from the time I was a little kid all the way through college. Took a gap off. I was off the ice for 23 years and just focused as a bicycle racer and endurance athlete at the time. And then after breaking my body enough times, I went back to hockey some 6 or so years ago. And the game has changed dramatically, even in the last 5-10 years. It's much, much faster, much more skilled. Thankfully, they're phasing the whole fighting element out of it. Physical and hard hitting and play, yeah, absolutely. I'm all for that. But I'm glad that fighting is going away, and the sport is changing, I think, for the better in that regard.
Well, and especially in hockey's defense, I haven't looked at a game since I was maybe 12. So like that was a long time ago, and I'm not to put my age out there, but I'm way past 12. So I'm sure it definitely has changed. But let's so tell me about your childhood. Like, did you know you had a love for hockey? Were you a sports kid? Did you grow up in a sports family? What was your childhood like? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is a notorious sports town. I'm the oldest. I have a younger sister, and then through my father's second marriage, I have 2 younger brothers who are 12 and 13 years younger. So there's a huge gap there. I started skating when I was 3 years old, and I don't know exactly what age I was when I started playing hockey, like street hockey, whatever. Probably like 5 or 6. I do remember somewhere around that age. I used to chalk up my mom's laundry room. I would draw the lines for a hockey rink, like the blue line, the red line, the goal line, etc. And then one time I just got soaked, and I played roller hockey there. So I was probably like 6, and I got tired of chalking the lines every few days, whatever. So I decided, I looked around in the garage, and rather resourcefully, I found a can of red paint, and I painted my mom's laundry room, permanent hockey court, of which, yeah, she wasn't too thrilled about that. But I was creative.
That's funny. Oh my God.
But yeah, grew up playing hockey. I think I started playing organized, like on the ice at age 9. And played, as I said, like through college, and in college I was a dual sports person, playing hockey and bicycle racing, and then after college I left hockey behind for, as I said, 23 years, and just focused on bicycle racing. So yeah, I've always been an athlete. I remember at age 14 committing to being an athlete. Even before that, I was a recreational athlete, but in my mind, Shatanya, is that, and I view being an athlete like making that commitment at age 14, meaning like training comes first, and everything I need to do. And I remember, and I'm still that way now, all these years later, where like, I mean, now obviously we're in COVID, whatever. So, but that aside, but staying in on weekends because I was training instead of being out socializing with friends. I do not consume any alcohol. I do not consume any drugs or whatever. I'm very meticulous about the way I care for my body, and everything that I put into it. And that's why, I mean, earlier this week I turned 56, and anybody that sees my pictures cannot believe that.
Literally just going to say that. I was literally going to say you look amazing.
The fact that every day that I'm on the ice, I'm playing with, I don't want to say kids, but elite college players and junior players who are between 18 and 23 years old. So I'm older than their parents or whatever, and I always say, Shatanya, it's like, I can't be the best player on the ice, but I can be the fittest.
Exactly.
And so they cannot believe what I can do, and I always attribute it to the way my lifestyle, meditation and mindfulness is obviously part of that, but obviously it's the way I train, my lifestyle, and my vegan lifestyle, my plant-based lifestyle in particular. So
No, everything that you do, that I'm hearing and that I see is definitely shining through, because your way of life with the meditation and your mindfulness and the veganism, it definitely shows. When I was looking at your Instagram page, and guys, I'm gonna share Rick's Instagram page with you guys so you can get a look too, because when I was looking, I was like, oh my God, he is fit. I'm like, and then I'd seen the picture and it said, and I knew that you had a birthday, and I'm like, 56. What? Okay. So I'm like, okay, I need to incorporate whatever Rick is doing into my life, because Rick looks good.
thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So when you were did you I know you said you played in school. Did you ever think like you're gonna become a professional hockey player? Like was that the goal, or did it just like start happening? Did it just fall into your, not fall into your lap, but how did that journey happen where you just went further and further with being more competitive?
Well, I mean, when you're at single digits, when you're under age 10 or whatever, who doesn't want to be a professional athlete, right? So, but somewhere along the way, probably in my teens or whatever, I kind of realized I was not good enough to be a pro athlete, a professional hockey player for sure. And then when I got into bicycle racing, that was a whole other thing, because I'd been around team sports so much my whole life as a hockey player that bicycle racing felt very much like an individual sport. So therefore it's on me and how I train and how fit I am and how strong I am and how good my endurance is. Since I was a road cyclist doing bicycle racing for hours on end, like the Tour de France style type racing, and so I still train like a professional athlete. I've trained with and skated with professional athletes, whether as a hockey player or as a bicycle racer, and I've represented them as well as Olympians. And I mean, my lifestyle and the way I train is very much in line. I mean, some of them say I do too much, that I do more than they do or whatever. So I've heard that side of it as well. So even though I am a professional, as I said, in public relations and marketing and talent management and things like that, I've just always built into my lifestyle, especially when I was a bicycle racer, and therefore you need daylight to train. So either then I would be either with like early morning training rides with teammates for a few hours, or midday, where like from 11 to 2 or whatever it may be, because obviously you need daylight. Maybe it would be 3 to 6 or whatever. I'd be on the bike training, whatever. So when I transitioned back to hockey player just over 6 years ago, some people were surprised, like, I can't believe you're skating 5 days a week or whatever. I'm like, well, as a bicycle racer, you trained every day, and I had this window, this 3-hour window that I built into my life ever since I pretty much graduated college. There was one year that I worked for somebody else where I had to be somewhere from 9 to 7 or whatever, and so I would train in the mornings before that or whatever. But ever since then, aside from that, I've always had this 3-hour window in my day, because people are like, I can't believe you skate this much, and yet you're not getting paid to do so.
Like, well, you love
it's
something.
like anything else. If you want to be good at it, and I don't want to accept good. It's like, if you want to be great at something, you need to put in the time.
Exactly. And when you love something, it doesn't feel like it's work. It doesn't feel like, oh my God, I've been doing this 6 days and I've been cycling for hours, because it's like you have that love for it and that passion for it. So I get that part too. So so I know you said you started your spiritual journey in 1994. So can you take us through that? Like what was it that happened in your life that made you feel that you needed to incorporate a spiritual lifestyle? And like were you introduced to mindfulness, or did you like stumble upon it? Just take us through that journey of becoming that spiritual person and incorporating mindfulness, and explain to us like your meditation journey. Like what does that look like for you, And how did it look for you in 94, and how does that look for you today?
Excellent questions, and there's a lot in there.
I'm so sorry.
Here we go, Tanya. The quick answer is my father's heart attack.
Oh.
And thankfully he survived it and he's fine.
Okay.
But when my father had a heart attack around Thanksgiving of 94, I had 2 months before that, I had just started working with Earth, Wind, and Fire. Which I was proud to represent EWF for 9 years as their publicist. And those are some spiritual guys, and I was especially close with Verdine White, who became like my older brother and everything. And Verdine started bringing me around Marianne Williamson and Deepak Chopra, and again, I was like, I looked at my father, and at the time he was in his mid-50s, so my current age, whatever, and he had this heart attack, and I realized that his father, my grandfather, had fallen over one day and died from a massive heart attack, and apparently my great-grandmother the same, and I realized that right down my paternal side there was this history of heart disease. And my father had his chest plate cracked and had a triple bypass or quadruple, I don't remember, and I was like, yeah, I don't want that. And I tried to look, because at the time I basically thought that my father ate pretty well, he exercised regularly, he was always inspired by me, and took pretty good care of himself, although he had been a smoker. So I was just like, what is it? And I realized type A personality, a perfectionist. And I have those traits. I am definitely a type A driven perfectionist or whatever too. But I had to learn another way to live. That's the way I took his heart attack. And so that his episode in November of 94 kind of opened me spiritually. And so I started going to some lectures. Marianne Williamson and Deepak Chopra. Actually, I didn't see Deepak, but I went to a number of Marianne Williamson lectures and events with Verdine, and then there was this. I live in Los Angeles, and there's this beautiful temple that I used to drive by on Sunset Boulevard, right by the sea. I always wondered what it was, and I found out that a couple of friends of mine were going there for services, and they came with me. And one of them was actually my father's best friend, and one of them was one of my best friends from college, and they were going to the services there, and they had come with me to Marianne Williamson lectures. So I said, hey, let me reciprocate. I'm going to come to your thing. And they're like, no, it's it doesn't work that way. This is it's called self-realization fellowship, and therefore it's up to you to realize when you decide you want to go. I said, well, I'm going to go. And neither one of them were going to be there on a particular Sunday. It was Sunday, March 12th, 1995. And I rolled up for my first service and sat outside, and I was really inspired. I do come from a Jewish family, and I never really felt connected, even though I did get bar mitzvah when I was 13. I never really felt a true connection or a real, I didn't find it particularly practical. I was listening to things that happened thousands of years ago, and I wondered how that applied to me to live more calmly and peacefully today. As you say, be more present and mindful. And yet here, everything that I was listening to at this service was pretty much addressing that. And so I started going every Sunday, which was a change for me, because I was still spinning records in nightclubs sometimes on Saturday night, so a late night thing, and the thought of getting up at even as late as as early, quote unquote, as 9:30 and going out to a service for 11 o'clock. It's like, yeah, I'm not going to do that very often. But I did. Much to my surprise, I did. And after a few months of doing that, I listened to what one of the monks said, and it was like, hey, just start with, because we meditate at the beginning of every service for a few minutes, for about 5 minutes. And then the monks were always saying, like, just do 5 minutes a day. Just commit to 5 minutes a day of meditation. You can do that. Anybody can do that. And so I started, after a few months of going to these services, I then started meditating at home, just 5 minutes a day. And then before you know it, 5 becomes 10, and 10 becomes 20, and 20 becomes 30. And before you know it, I was going to these all-day meditations where 3-4 hours at night, and then the Christmas meditation was a long one. That's from 10 to 6. And again, as an athlete who refuses to quit, I was like, yeah, I'm sitting there the entire time. So it kind of grew that way, and
Oh,
here it is.
love it.
I've been on that spiritual path now for, we're almost to the date, 26 years later.
Wow, I love that. I love that. And I also love that, well, not love that you said that, but it resonates with me when you said that the faith that you grew up with didn't resonate with you. And that was true for me as well. I grew up in a Christian household and I used to have to go to church every Sunday and on Wednesdays Bible studies and all this other, and it just did not resonate to me. There were just certain things that was there that I would question. And of course, when you question, you kind of get shut down. Like you're not supposed to ask those questions. Just go along with what we're saying. But it did not speak to me. And when I found spirituality, like meditation and mindfulness, and just the teachings from like Course of Miracles and Dr. Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra, their teachings, like it really clicked to me. And I was like, this is what I've been searching for all along. Like these are the answers that I've been asking. These are the answers that I've been looking for all along. So like I appreciate that you shared that part because that definitely resonates with me as far as,
Excellent.
it's just not clicking for you.
Yeah, well, and oddly enough, once you open your mind to spirituality and you start, like I started studying the teachings, and the Self Realization Fellowship, it was founded by Paramahansa Yogananda in 1920, who brought yoga and yoga, which means union with God, from India to the West in 1920. And so once I started studying those teachings, it was amazing because anytime that I would go to a family event, say a cousin's or a nephew's or a niece's bar and bat mitzvah or whatever, I suddenly got much more out of Judaism because I had become open to it and realized also, they often talk about the Self-Realization Fellowship teachings. They kind of view it as like, in a way, like a wheel. And you say like the hub, and that there are all these different spokes to the center being God. And they kind of are like in the teachings are the commonality of all religions.
Right.
So I started to appreciate more Judaism after I had, if you will, had been baptized into another spiritual path. So go figure.
No, that's true because I definitely on my journey, I've learned to appreciate different pieces of different organized religions. Like Buddhism was one of when I left Christianity, I started practicing Buddhism. And then when I left that, it was just like, but I was able to take bits and pieces from different, because I always say the common denominator in each religion is love. And then when you start finding that, understanding that God is love, then it's in everything. So that's where like really helped me to be more open and to be more understanding when people had certain views of just like, but trying to bring people to more of the spiritual realm of just saying, but at the end of the day, it's about love and it's about inclusion. So that's what I'm always preaching to people. I mean, I probably just like a love and peace pusher, but that's what I'm always preaching.
No, that's perfect. I mean, and you're right. I mean, that's, as I said, my signature, peace, love, hope, and joy, or whatever. I mean, that's my way of wishing people God, right? I mean, because God is peace, love, hope, and joy, and so much more. And so I can't like remember, how do I sign off my business correspondence or whatever? I'm not like into that sincerely, business or whatever, same as everybody else or whatever. It's not that I'm not sincere, but I was just like, it's like my message is like I'm wishing you God, if you will, and so that God embodies all those things, as you say, peace, love, joy, etc. I mean that's what we all seek, as you say. No matter what your spirituality or your spiritual path is, that's one thing that we all share in common.
Exactly. So, what does your daily routine look like as far as meditation and being mindful? Like, right now I'm in school for just finding out the science of mindfulness and just learning different processes of mindfulness. But I'd always like to hear what other people are doing to just stay present and stay mindful. And then Also, for people that's listening, if you don't know what mindfulness is, I guess you can give your description of what you feel like mindfulness is, and then I can give mine. But like, what does the mindfulness? And I'm sorry, I keep giving these loaded questions with like 50 million questions within a question, but it's like they're all like my rambling brain is always grabbing up more things. But it's just like I'm so interested in like the things that you have to share, so I'm like throwing so many questions in there. But yeah, like what does your mindfulness routine look like each day? And what is your definition of mindfulness for people who don't know what mindfulness is?
Well, in a way, you just kind of use yourself as an example. I'm not picking on
Mm.
you, Tanya, but
Oh,
just like you said, like it's about being focused on one thought,
yeah,
right?
right.
Being conscious of one thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the stats that I heard were the mind. The human mind processes somewhere between 50 and 60,000 thoughts per day.
Right.
50 or 60,000 thoughts per day. How do how do you get it to stop? And even
Right.
the people, and we're going to talk about you giving up veganism after 7 days, but
Yes,
many
please.
times people say they sit and, oh, I've tried to meditate, I can't, my mind is so
Right.
restless. Well, think about it. It's like a car in a way.
Mhm.
Like you're speeding along at 60 miles an hour and you slam on the brakes. There's going to
Mhm.
be a skidding distance, right? I
Yes.
mean, so oftentimes I've done some of these like 3 or 4 hour meditations where the
Mhm.
last half hour is like I'm finally calm and I
Mhm.
finally like now I'm good. Like I spent
Right.
3.5 hours like kind of wrestling or whatever or fighting it or
Right.
whatever, and then finally the mind is now still and it's calm or whatever. So it's I mean that's a huge part of meditation techniques, and
Mhm.
simple one is just watching the breath or being aware of the breath. That like the point that the nostrils and the breath, the air coming in and
Mhm.
out or whatever, and you're doing nothing to control it or whatever. But that's almost like a concentration technique.
Right.
Um, and so I always view mindfulness as very much like that, like stilling and slowing and being
Mhm.
present in the
Right.
moment. Um,
Exactly.
when I arrive at the rink, I sit for a minute in my car. I try to look around and make sure nobody's thinking like I'm some strange person or whatever. But like,
Right.
I'll like I turn the car off and then I
Mhm.
sit and I kind of meditate, if you will, or pray for a couple
Mhm.
minutes, whatever, just to get focused before I even walk into the rink.
Right.
I do meditate each day. Sometimes it's kind of a longer meditation
Mhm.
where it's either at night. Before bed, or
Mhm.
sometimes like today it was in the morning.
Mhm.
Ideally it's morning and night, and I try to
Mhm.
spend multiple times throughout the day where I check in, even if it's just for a couple minutes here and there,
Right. Right.
and I'll read some quotes or things throughout the day, like from Yogananda,
Mhm.
just to keep bringing my mind back, and I
Okay.
also have pictures of of him and things like
Mhm.
basically in every room of my home, so
Okay.
and in my car, so that like I'm always bringing my mind back.
Right.
I'm also a believer in the power of affirmation, positive
Mhm.
affirmation,
Mhm.
and really try to be aware of my self talk as well.
Mhm.
Um, if using an example, I'm out on the ice or whatever, and I flub a play or whatever, and it's easy to come off the ice and be like, I suck,
Mhm.
and you start telling yourself these bad things, or whatever,
Mhm.
and it's just harmful. It's
It's
just
true.
harmful to your mind,
Mhm.
and which then reflects your performance and everything. So it's much better to affirm positively, and we all have to watch how we talk to ourselves. Lots
Yes.
of times people talk to themselves unlike they would ever talk to anybody.
So
They're
true.
so hard and disrespectful to themselves, and it's just negative. It's just negative energy. It does not help at all.
Mhm.
And so it's I always try to. I mean, I begin my day as soon as I open my eyes. The first thing I say is something wonderful is going to happen to me today,
I
and then
love
I spend
that.
my entire day looking for that something wonderful.
I love
Sometimes it's
that.
very clear, and I know exactly what that something wonderful is, and other
Mhm.
times like, oh yes, this is pretty wonderful. But
Right.
in other words, like I begin each day with a positive affirmation as soon as I open my eyes.
I love that. No, I love that. I love what you just said. That is true. The affirmations in the morning and how our self talk, because I do catch myself sometimes talking to myself so badly, and I'm like, I'll look in the mirror. I'm like, oh, you're this or you're that, or oh, how did you mess that up? Why are you so stupid? And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you talking to yourself like that? Like, you are manifesting the things that you don't like because you're putting all these things on you. Like, why would you talk to yourself so harshly and then wonder why you're unhappy when you look in the mirror in that moment? You just beat yourself down verbally, and you would never allow anybody else to beat you down like that. So, like, why do we do it to ourselves? So that is like, I totally agree with that. Like, being mindful of how our self-talk, because I know I catch myself sometimes, you know, down in myself, and just a whole barrage of thoughts going on, just ripping yourself to shreds. But I definitely love what you said. Well, starting off the day with a great affirmation. I need to start implementing that more into my life. Do the morning affirmations. I usually start my morning off with doing my meditations. And well, now that I'm in school, we have certain practices that we do for mindfulness. So I'm incorporating those things into my life too, like body scans and just being present. But that is the biggest piece, I feel, just that being present. We don't even realize sometimes how much our mind wanders and get away from ourselves. And just finding, I love that you have pictures to remind you to become present and things like that. I think I need to start doing that, adding things in the house too. Like, I have stuff in my bedroom, but in other places of the house to bring myself back to present. So I think that's something that the listeners definitely need to try to incorporate into their lives, just things to keep them present.
I think it's so. I mean, I laugh because throughout the day, like I'm sitting at my desk and I'm thinking about what my workout is, or I'm thinking about what I'm going to do on the ice or whatever. And then when I'm doing something else, then I'm thinking about the work that I'm going to do, the piece that I'm going to write, or whatever for a client, or the social media posts or content that I'm creating. And then I mean, hockey, like, once I'm on the ice, your mind, like, again, because it's so fast or whatever, you have to be present. You have no choice but to be like really present. Now, when I'm sitting between shifts, all of a sudden my mind might drift off, and I'll be like, yeah, after this, I have a 1 o'clock interview today with Shatanya. So I'm like, all of a sudden, and it's like constantly, you got to bring your mind back. Always got to bring your mind back, because it's just, as said, 50 or 60,000 thoughts a day. The mind is naturally going to wander. So you're not defective, you're not broken or whatever if you go and try to sit to meditate or whatever, and your mind is just racing all over the place. It's like, just sit, discipline it. Like anything else, it requires discipline, and you need to discipline the mind like anything else. And that is like, no, I'm not getting up, I'm not quitting, I'm not going to give up on this meditation. I have never walked out of a meditation.
Oh my God, that's so good.
I refuse. Like, I will just sit. Now, that doesn't mean that if I sit, if I'm doing it at home, and if I all of a sudden, like, I'm too sleepy or whatever else, and all of a sudden, like, I might wrap it up early or whatever else. But I've never gone to a group meditation like in my temple or something like that, where they're anywhere from 2 to 8 hours. As I said, I've never gotten up and walked out, not once.
Love it, love it. And that's the reason why I started this podcast, because I wanted to talk to people and talk to other people about their meditation journey, because my meditation journey it took me years. Like, for 3 years I tried to sit and get quiet. I had, like, my mind was racing. I was going through so many things, and I'm like, this isn't working. So, and then it finally started to click, and I started finally had my mind slowed down. And then when I really got the hang of it and stopped judging myself and stopped that critical mind, shutting it off, and just bringing myself back to, when I start drifting off, bringing myself back present, drift off, bring myself back present. And it allowed me to be able to go from 10-minute meditations to 15-minute meditations to 2-hour meditations to, like, it. And when I realized the benefits of it, I was like, wow, people need to know that it's not the easiest journey, But once you get on it, it's such a rewarding journey. And it's like, because people think, if from the outside looking in, oh, you just lay down and bam, you're in a meditative mode. No. So that's why I wanted to talk to other people and share my journey with people who are trying to get on a meditative, you know, trying to put that into their meditative practice, so that they can know it's okay if your mind start drifting off. It's okay as the first week or month or even year. It took me a few years that it doesn't seem like it's working, but just the fact that you have, signed off for just a couple of moments is rewarding. This is my thing. Once you give the universe just a couple of moments, a couple of seconds to be able to seep in there, for just creep in there and throw some blessings out, that's all you need. Like, you don't have to have this uh Gandhi approach of meditation. Just whatever you do is beneficial. So that's, the reason why I started this podcast, because I just wanted people to know it's okay to just be mindful. Now, I definitely want to talk about your journey when you became a vegan, but my main question that I forgot to ask you was, like, can you explain to us what the zone is when you are riding, because I can just see you on the bike as, riding on your cycle, or when you're on the ice in a hockey game. What is that like? What is the zone when you just get super focused? What does that feel like? Because we always hear people talk about the zone.
Yeah. I mean that is mindfulness.
Okay.
Is all that really is. So
Okay.
you're absolutely right in making the connection there, Shatanya.
Okay.
It's absolute mindfulness. It's you are completely in the moment. There's nothing else that exists in the world at the time. You are 100% focused on what it is that you're doing, your play, or the race or whatever it may be. That's exactly what the zone is. It's just complete lockdown, focus, concentration, etc. So, yeah, I mean, how's it feel? It's like, I mean, that's the goal. Much like with they say with meditation or something, like, peace is the goal or whatever. And as the example that I used earlier was, I might do a 4-hour meditation, and maybe the first 3.5 hours I'm fighting it, whatever, and then finally I get to this peaceful state, and then before it's over, and they're ending the meditation like, wow, well, at least I got there at the end. So it's like, the zone itself is much like the same thing. It's like, that's the goal, is you want to be locked in, you want to be fully present, and mindful in that exact moment, and concentrating on that 100%, and then it's just natural. It's like it just goes through you. And yeah, I mean, that's we all want to get to that spot.
I love it because sometimes when people speak of the zone, is think like, we feel like, okay, is that something only athletes can achieve, or like, what is that? Does something just click? But you explained it perfectly, so now I can see it. And as you're telling me, I'm like seeing you on the ice and hitting the puck, and I'm like, he's in the zone. So I'm like visualizing it as you're telling me. So I love that definition.
I do want to address one of the things that you were just saying before, in regards to meditation, and as you say, like, it's not for us to judge the effort, right? I mean, as I said, I started with 5 minutes a day. I don't meditate for hours every day, as much as I would want to sometimes. And then, who's to say, like, it's a good meditation or it's a bad meditation, whatever. That's judging. The idea is you just show up. And you do the best you can. And if you have 5 minutes today, great. And maybe tomorrow you got 20, or you got 30, or you got hours or whatever. But it's not for any individual, because it's an offering. It's like it's an offering to the divine, or whatever you choose to believe, God or whomever else. It's like you're just showing up each day, and you're making time. You're committing, to yourself. To God or whatever you believe, the universe, and you're just giving that time. It's an offering, and as much as our true nature might be peace, we still need to practice it.
Yeah.
We still need to put in the effort every day and practice it. There's nothing, much like an athlete practices every day, or a piano player, or a guitarist, or a ballet dancer, whatever. Everybody, practices their craft any given day. And even though pieces are inherent nature, we have to practice it. We have to cultivate it in order to live it. We're living in a world where we're bombarded by distractions and constant, social media messages, and everything in the world is coming at us so fast, and we need to slow it down a little bit. And that's exactly what that commitment that you make each day to meditation is.
I love that. I love that. And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. I totally love that. So now let's dig into you becoming vegan and your vegan journey. So how can a meat eater, I, I guess I am a meat eater. I stopped eating meat for a while and then I got extremely deficient, but I wasn't taking my vitamins, I wasn't taking supplements, but I'm learning now that I just need to take supplements. So I got back on meat, but could a meat eater like me transition into veganism, vegetarianism? Like, how can we transition into that lifestyle? And when did you make that choice to change your diet?
So I stopped eating animals in 1990.
Wow.
So 31 years ago, I stopped eating animals, and it happened. No pun intended, organically for me. I was an endurance athlete at the time, meaning a bicycle racer, and I was just eating pasta and vegetables every day. And even though I grew up in a meat and potatoes household, I was eating pasta and vegetables every night for dinner, and I realized I didn't miss meat after a little while. And so after a few years of being vegetarian, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go vegan now. And this is in the early 90s. And I tried it for a little while, and then I realized that, I didn't know what quinoa was. I wasn't eating garbanzo beans. I wasn't eating avocado. I wasn't eating a lot of things that I know now to eat today. And I was getting most of my protein from supplements at the time. And I was like, well, that can't be healthy if I'm eating science. So let me, after 6 months of trying to be vegan in 92 or 93, I went back. Now it's an entirely different world. The food is delicious now. I mean, I ate a lot of unsatisfying meals during my early 90s time, but now anything that you like, you can get in a plant-based version, a vegan version. So it's now the food is caught up and even surpassed in many ways. So lots of times you can eat things and have no idea that it is vegan. It's that good now. So that excuse is off the table.
Right.
I'm going to touch back on a couple things. I was already vegetarian when I entered my spiritual path in 95 with Self-Realization Fellowship, which teaches to eat vegetarian. So I already had that in the bag. I was already done. And here's why this is important to you as a meditator. When you eat animals, you're ingesting their stress.
That is so true, because I realized when I started back eating chicken, I was more depressed and I was really more anxious, and I felt like that was what was going on with the animal. And I said that to someone and they thought I was crazy. Oh my God.
No, animals are sentient beings, meaning that they feel and they are aware. And so when they are about to be slaughtered, oftentimes their friends and family members are slaughtered right in front of them. So they see it, they know they're next. What do you think your stress level would be? So all that cortisol fills their body, and then you eat their flesh, which means you're eating a lot of cortisol. Cortisol, of course, is the stress hormone that humans and animals share. And so you're ingesting that stress. And then people wonder why they're so stressed out or whatever. It's so Yogananda and a lot of the yogis from India taught eating vegetarian because of in order to induce more deeper meditations, that you're calmer. Now they ate dairy, and that's a whole other thing. But and we can get into that because with dairy, you're a female. I don't know if you're a mother or if you want to be a mother one day. But the way, how do you think a cow produces milk when they're pregnant? And it's not like that they are naturally pregnant. It's that the life of a cow is they are forcefully inseminated against their will. They are basically raped, essentially. They are made pregnant. Within hours of them giving birth, their calf is ripped away from them. If it's a male calf, that calf goes out and becomes veal. If it's a female calf, then she's going to be sentenced to the same life as her mother, meaning she's going to be away from her mother, and she's going to grow up being force fed or whatever, and it's going to go through this cycle of getting raped, have a kid, and have it ripped away, and then repeat. So the cow will normally get pregnant 3-5 times or whatever in their life, and then they're deemed that they don't make enough milk, produce enough milk, and so then they're slaughtered. They're sent off to slaughter. So they're 3 to 5 years old when they're sent off to slaughter. So essentially they're babies, right? And so both with when you're eating animals or you're eating dairy products, you're getting the you're getting the antibacterial stuff that they're injected with. Their hormones, right? I mean, would you drink the milk of a human?
No.
I mean, now that you're a grown adult, and oddly enough, you should, more than, I mean, if you want milk, you should, because it's at least bioidentically, the genetics, it's bioidentical markers or whatever, like a human to a human. Humans are the only animal that drinks the milk of another species. It's not natural. And actually, the way milk works, when we're born, we need it. We need, obviously, and for the first 2 or 3 years of our lives, we can actually process it, and we need it. And then the gene shuts off. And that's why 65% of the human population is either lactose intolerant or has an allergy. Now, when you're talking African Americans, or you're talking Native Americans, or you're talking Asians, that percentage goes between 85 and 95%. Latins, Latinos, and Latinas, same type of percentage, 95% are lactose intolerant. Where the freaks, quote unquote, the freaks are the ones who can still process dairy products after the age of 3 or 4. So they become the exception rather than the rule. So it's not meant for us. Cow's milk is for a cow. It's not for a human. It's not for human consumption. And certainly after the age of 3, you definitely don't need it. So.
I don't drink milk, and it's so crazy because I had cut. Okay, Rick, I am definitely about to go throw all my cheese out.
Yeah, well, and cheese is the worst because cheese is 75% fat. It's highly processed, and it is loaded with sodium. There's not you don't need it. You eat a plant-based cheese if you want cheese. I eat what's called and there's a difference between you can eat a vegan junk food diet, Oreos, believe it or not, are vegan. You can eat them. I see people who and I've written columns about people who've gone vegan and they've eaten a whole lot of processed foods or junk foods and they gained weight. And they're like, yeah, but it's vegan. I'm like, yeah, but it's highly processed, or it's still loaded with sugar or fat or whatever that may be. So it's you have to be careful. And so what the diet that I try to or that I follow pretty much is a whole foods plant-based diet. And that means I'm trying to eat food as close to the way it came out of the ground as possible, meaning not processed. And once you get into processed foods, that's when it's there's a lot of fat in it or sodium in it. At least the cholesterol is not there, because you only get cholesterol from animals or animal products. So if you're not eating dairy or eating animals, then at least you're not getting any cholesterol in your diet. So that's good right there. But yeah, there's a lot there, and when you start learning about all these things, and
Yeah.
one of the things that I did during quarantine, something I've been wanting to do is I got certified in plant-based nutrition from Cornell University. So
I love it. You are definitely that type A person.
I knew a lot before, but being that I was writing columns and
Right.
doing interviews like what we're doing today, Shatanya,
Right.
I've spoken at a number of events and veg fests and things like that. And I was like, well, I should learn as much as I can learn. And so that's one of the things I did during the quarantine was get certified in plant-based nutrition. So to really learn, what to eat and why, and really learn more about the science. So.
No, my sister would love to hear this because she just became vegan. She's been vegetarian for a little over a year. She just became vegan around October, November. So I remember when I went to Florida to visit my family, I made our food and I made her vegan food. So we bought all the vegan products to make. She wanted vegan mac and cheese, so I made that, and it was actually really good using all the vegan cheese, the vegan butters, and stuff like that. It was really good. But I know she would definitely appreciate that. But definitely the knowledge of like the information you just gave me, I never looked at it like that. But I do remember noticing a difference when I started back eating meat. When I would eat chicken, I said to my friend, I don't know why I feel depressed or stressed out every time. I've noticed it was like I eat the chicken and then all of a sudden I don't feel well. Like I'm not in a feeling sick kind of way, but a stressful kind of way. Like my mind just wasn't good. And then, I would go because I would go months without eating it and then I'll eat it again. And then it started clicking like, okay, the what's been happening is I'm noticing that anytime I eat meat, I feel a certain way. So I'm like, I think it's coming from the stress of the animal. And yeah, people's looking at me like I was crazy, but that is so true. And okay, yeah, all right.
So yeah, there's
Getting
a number of things there.
clean, cleaning up this diet.
People talk about getting the itis.
Mm-hmm.
Like after they eat a big meal, they get the itis or whatever. They just want to sleep it off. Usually that's a couple things are happening there. One, there's an intolerance going on. Two, because you should feel energized and refreshed after eating, and not that you need to sleep it off. And so what happens is like your body to digest that flesh that you're eating or whatever is just burning so much energy and just trying to digest it. You're sleepy.
Right.
It's as simple as that. Like you're not supposed to feel that way after your food. Now I'm happy to hear about your sister, and you reminded me to continue about my own story. So I was vegetarian for 25 years, and then we're coming up on 6 years. I had what I call my light switch moment, and an Olympic athlete that I work with, and her name is Dotsie Bausch, and she now runs a nonprofit called Switch for Good. But she was an Olympic cyclist, and she, as she says, she learned to be vegetarian through me, and I learned to be vegan through her. She gave a TEDx talk called Olympic Level Compassion in 2015, and a combination of her talk and then at the same time, literally like the same day, I believe, I went to a website called What Cody Saw. Cody, C-O-D-Y, whatcodysaw.org, I believe it is. And Cody was somebody who went undercover at a fish farmery, a beef, a cattle, farm, a chicken facility, whatever, and he went through all of them. And once I learned and saw the cruelty involved in how these animals are treated and bred and slaughtered, and it was just like it's Pandora's box for me. It was like once you learn. So I would say like I became vegetarian for health and performance reasons, but I went vegan for the animals, and that's almost 6 years ago now. So. It's once I learned, and then obviously you continue to learn not only how harmful it is to the animals, but you learn how harmful it is to the planet and the Earth's natural resources and the amount of water. Like I forget the number, but it's something like to produce like 1 pound of cheese is like 1,000 gallons of water. I mean, it's like, when you start doing the math and you realize, like, it's ridiculous. What a drain it is on our land, on obviously greenhouse gases, and obviously the suffering and everything going on in the world. And as somebody who is a meditator and practice mindfulness or whatever, it's about compassion, right? We're living passionately. And so why do we invite some animals into our homes and into our beds and into our lives, and then others we decide, oh, we're going to eat them. Wow. We're going to raise them for slaughter. Yeah. Or we're going to wear them. No. And so once you educate yourself, once you learn about these things, and there's a whole other issue which we can get into, and I'm not an expert on it, so I'm not going to claim to be, but they talk about two things when it comes to racial injustice, or dietary injustice, and that is one. So as I was giving you the stats before on dairy, for instance, and the government knows that, like, when you're talking, like, say, African Americans, that 85% of them are have a dairy intolerance or an allergy or whatever, but yet the government funds all this government cheese or whatever, all this dairy, whatever, that they put out there for the black community, and they know it makes them sick. And so it's a dietary injustice. There's also what they call food deserts. Like, if you look and you see a white neighborhood, how many McDonald's are in the area versus how many McDonald's are in the area of a black neighborhood. Exactly. And it's not even close. And then you look at, like, what availability for good, healthy plant foods, fresh fruits and vegetables on a daily basis, how much more it's available in a white neighborhood versus a black neighborhood or a Latin neighborhood. And then you realize, that's what's called dietary injustice. And so you realize, like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but
but
like,
it's
when
true.
you start learning these things and you realize that, like, it's really, like, the way they cater and advertise to African Americans, whatever, is just like, it's racist.
It is.
It's racist because they know it makes them sick, and yet they feed it that way.
It's so true, no, because I remember when I used to live where I used to live, I used to have to travel to other neighborhoods to get good stuff, to be able to get healthy foods, to go get to get vegetables. Like, our produce section wasn't fully stocked, or if it was stocked, the vegetables weren't the best. So we always had to travel into the quote unquote white neighborhoods to be able to get good meats, to be able to get good vegetables, to find anything healthy. You had to travel out. Like, and I remember when I had moved back to Queens, because I'm from New York, but I moved to Jersey. When I moved back to Queens, I was like, why do I have to go all the way to Long Island? And at this time, I was eating very healthy. And I'm like, why do I have to travel all the way to Long Island to find something to eat? Why is there a McDonald's here, a Popeyes, and a Burger King, but I can't go anywhere to get a salad? Like, and it's so true.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. And somebody who speaks much better about it, and somebody you can look up for those for you and your listeners, is Dr. Milton Mills. And I have interviewed Dr. Mills, and he's brilliant. I was mentioning Dottie Bausch before. She now runs a nonprofit called Switch for Good, which teaches people to ditch dairy. And it's primarily athletes or whatever, but it's everybody. It's for everybody, but it's an athlete run organization. A lot of professionals and Olympians involved with Switch for Good. And she and Dr. Mills spoke before. They were invited to Washington, D.C. and spoke before the government. The U.S. Dietary guidelines. They waged a big campaign last year because finally Canada was the first. Canada removed dairy products off of the daily, like the food allotment or whatever that they recommend every day for people to have. Canada finally removed it, recommending, whereas the U.S. is still recommending that people drink, have multiple servings of dairy per day. And so they lobby before the government to try to get them to remove it from the dietary guidelines. it hasn't been fully decided yet, and it might not be until because apparently the U.S. Dietary Administration they so. I know they definitely made a lot of people aware this time around. So there's some video and stuff out there, and you can listen to Dr. Mills talk about it. He's, as I said, much better at speaking about than I am.
Okay. So, because I guess that's why you started your organizations, Vibrant and Vibrant and NRG.
Vibrant Energy.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, so it's energy. Okay. Vibrant
Yeah.
Energy. Okay. So
well, you're right. Exactly. Like if you look us up, if you go to our website, it's vibrantnrg.com,
Okay.
Which is kind of like our logo, but the proper company name is Vibrant Energy.
Oh, okay.
ENERGY.
Okay.
But yeah, people can find us vibrantnrg.com.
Okay. Okay. And can we explain to everyone what your company is, what Vibrant Energy is?
So obviously, anybody who goes to and starts seeing my social media content, I mean, I am on Facebook as Rick.Scott, and Instagram is RickScott16, 16 being my hockey number, RickScott16, and then obviously we have pages as well for Vibrant Energy, whatever. But the content that I've been creating is about how to live an active and vibrant life as being athletic, and as I said, forget your age. Anything is possible with good, smart training and obviously great nutrition. And so everything that I post is about compassionate living and mindfulness meditation, if you will. Proper training and working out and being active, and what we eat. How we train and recover, etc. And so the Vibrant Energy, as I said, is to educate, uplift, enlighten, inspire, and empower people to live a more compassionate, fully active life by adopting a plant-based diet and exercise program. And so I work with some people. I'm helping a number of people lose weight. I help and advise a number of people transition to a plant-based diet. And then the other side of it is, because obviously I'm a PR professional, and my partner and also our chief marketing officer are experienced professionals as well in marketing and everything. And so we formed, and you can find it on the Vibrant Energy page, the services page, where we work with brands and products, and they're either they have to fit our theme, obviously. Either if it's a food, then it's got to be plant-based. But like, we're working with a motivational t-shirt company, and they're not less like a vegan motivational t-shirt company. They're just a motivational t-shirt company, and their messages are about uplifting and inspiring people, and that obviously fits everything that we stand for. So with those types of companies, we work with them in terms of public relations. It's a full-service marketing firm, so it's public relations, marketing, social media, and SEO and branding and everything like that.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm definitely going to be stalking your page now, because I have to, after we get off this call, I have to go clean out my refrigerator. Because I'm like so stressed out now, like, oh God. Because I never really thought about it the way you laid it out and described the whole, even though I don't eat a lot of meat, but I do eat dairy, and I don't drink milk, but I do eat cheese. So it's like, and just being more mindful of, what I am putting into my body and what's going out into the universe, because although I know my mission is to help everyone find happiness, but that is also a way to find happiness, because it, from experience, it has changed my mood eating wrong. So yeah. I'm on this.
Well, I think there's just to tie everything together as we wrap up. Much like we're saying with meditation, just start with 5 minutes a day. I love it, and there are a lot of people. Sometimes it's because their doctor tells them you must go vegan immediately because they have cancer or they have a heart attack or whatever it may be. But really, I have a two-part column on the Vibrant Energy site. You can look for them. and it's how to transition to a plant-based diet.
Okay.
And the two-part column, I interviewed one person who gained weight when they went vegan, and another who lost weight because all he was doing was eating salads 3 times a day and couldn't figure out why he was so hungry.
Right.
And this is a big man, over 6 feet tall or whatever, and he was starving.
Right.
And so basically the advice that I interviewed Dr. Cyrus Campata, who has a company called Mastering Diabetes, and this has nothing to do with diabetes, but he teaches his patients, because you can absolutely reverse heart disease and diabetes through your diet.
Yes, okay.
Plain and simple. And so he's teaching people, and the big concept that I took, and I try to teach everybody, is like, walk slowly into a plant-based diet. And that is, say we're going to give you 4 weeks, okay? And first week, just your breakfast. Everything else, eat like as you want, but your breakfast is vegan. The second week, maybe it's your breakfast and your dinner, and so your lunch and your snacks or whatever, still whatever you normally eat. The third week, you're now eating all 3 of your primary meals that way, and then the fourth week you focus on your snacks and everything. And so you within 4 weeks you're now vegan, and you do it in a way that's sustainable, and because otherwise, I don't know your age or whatever, but like say in my case, if you take somebody in their 50s and like, wow, it's too late for me, it's like, no, it's not too late for you. And if you've been eating a certain way, say 50 years of your life, whatever, then it's going to take a while to transition. It could be absolutely overwhelming if you decide you're going to change everything and you're going to completely relearn how to eat overnight. And so some people will do it as you did. I'm going to do it for 7 days. Like, first of all, I'd say the best thing you can do is commit to 8 weeks.
Right, okay.
Because that's when the amazing thing about the body is that your taste buds change in 8 weeks. And so all the things that you crave and whatever else or whatever, like, if you stick with it for at least 8 weeks, your cravings will change, your taste buds will change, and there will be some trial and error. You're going to eat some things that, if you're a cheese person, you might eat some vegan cheeses that you don't like or whatever it may be. But once you find the substitutes, then it's easy. Then you don't think about it anymore. And it's not a sacrifice in any way, shape, or form. It's like your food is still satisfying and tastes good, and you enjoy it.
Okay.
So walk slowly, into your into the transition. To do it in steps. As Dr. Kabata and I mentioned in the article, like he said, I don't care if you need to take 6 months to get there, but do it in a way so that way when you get there, it lasts, and that you don't then revert back as you did. You went in. I don't know if you just dove in all the way in 7 days. There are some people who do it. There are some people who do it successfully, like overnight they become vegan and they just like roll with it. And as I said, there are plenty of people who their doctor tells them you need to do that immediately. And you don't want that scenario.
It's interesting because when I did dive into being vegan, this was in 98, and I dove in, there wasn't that there at that time, it really wasn't that many supplements. So I was literally just eating beans. And so that was beans and lettuce. So that wasn't helpful. So that's the reason why I didn't last but 7 days. But now, like you said, there are way more resources. And I'm 41. So, but yeah, I guess like exactly how you said, it's just like taking that slow walk into it and make the little changes into the diet. Yeah, I need to do it. I need to do it.
Well, I'm here to help if you need.
Yes, thank you. It's been so great speaking with you, Rick, and I feel like everyone is going to definitely benefit in so many ways from this talk. I'm glad you took out so much of your time to talk to me and talk to my listeners and get us on the right track of mindfulness meditation and, opening our understanding to the mind of the athlete, and also helping us to understand the issues that's going on with the way these animals are being treated. And it's a lot to process. That really stressed me out about those animals. Like, I'm so stressed out.
Yeah, as I said, it's Pandora's box. Once you learn and you see,
oh my God.
It's just horrible. I mean, it's just horrible. I've since done a lot of that, some activism, and I've gone to vigils, like being with the animals hours before the slaughter, like pig vigils, and you realize that these are 6-month-old animals. Like
Oh
we
my
are literally
God.
we're killing babies for
Right.
food, and we don't need to. Like they are full
Right.
grown at 6 months and they are being killed. Chickens
Wow.
are like 12 weeks or something like that when they're killed or whatever.
Mm.
Like it's like we're killing babies, people.
Right.
Wake up to it. And there is no
Right.
humane way of doing this. There is no
Right.
the free range or whatever else. Like none of it is acceptable. None of it.
Right. It's
They want to live
true.
just like any of us, and
That's
it's called
true.
speciesism. Like what makes us as a species decide that we are superior to every other species on the planet, and therefore they are
That's,
at our mercy.
that's
That's not
true.
right.
That is true. That is definitely true. Well, everyone, I'm going to post where you could follow Rick, and so that you can, you know, get vibrant.
Please do. Yeah, please get in touch. I respond to every message and email.
Mhm.
You can find us through our website and obviously through our socials and everything as well.
Okay. And so thank you so much.
Thank you, Shatanya. I enjoyed speaking with you and hopefully help you as well as your listeners.
You definitely have.